All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Athletics series, along with all of the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live following every single regular season series. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. And for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of our show that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of live recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 198 of our show. And Andrew, simply put it, the New York Mets are not playing fantastic baseball whatsoever. They have played 16 games, and they have been 16 rough games. They are now coming off of, right now, a 5-game losing streak, and now they go to play the defending champs. So it's not going to get any easier.
You can change the entire coaching staff minus one guy. You can change 95% of the roster, but yet we're still seeing the same bugaboos that happened last year. And again, we can break it down from a fundamental standpoint later. But again, you had a week at home, and it's continuing this trend minus the minus opening day, is that this team does not want to hit at Citi Field. As good as we had some pitchers, some bright spots on the pitching side. We have a blow up start, which for a guy notorious for blowing up in series and having those type of 6-7 run games. Shocker that happened, but overall, it's continuing this trend early on, at least in the season, where they're not hitting at Citi Field. And maybe this is a good thing that they're going away from Citi Field, because minus opening day, it seems like they don't score more than 4 runs, if you're lucky, when they play at Citi Field. And then you go into a team like the Oakland Athletics, who have a lot of offensive talent, but on paper, their pitching rotation should be a rotation. You should be able to slap around. And for you to get absolutely manhandled by that type of bullpen and rotation is a problem. But again, it's what this team has done early on, and we could say it's early, it's April, but again, we saw last year, one game in April could be the difference between you making the playoffs and you not. So, and you're seeing some continued trends, which you don't want. We thought, hey, change the lineup, change most of the big key pieces, and yet we're still not hitting with wrists. We still can't get that big hit and looking for that big hit. So, again, overall, vibes are low. But again, some people think the world's on fire. In my case, there's not good things, but again, like I say, make the joke every time. Guys, we got to enjoy this because we got a lockout coming. So you know what? Enjoy every single game you got, because guess what? You can go years without playing baseball. So as much as this is torture, you got to sit back and enjoy it. And, hopefully, like Carlos Mendoza says, there's too much talent in the room. Eventually, talent should, help you out, and you got too much talent, and maybe you start winning games. Or sometimes, maybe you just are who you are.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am at a point right now where I'm giving it time. It's a new team. It's a new staff. There's still somewhat of concerns, and that kind of just goes to the common denominator, which is, right now it's the manager, which a lot of people want his head on a plate right now. And to be honest, for good reason, because I don't think that a message is really being sent as of right now. And we all know that he is going to be the next one to go. And I think that discussion will come when it does come. You could have it right now, to be honest. Either way, we've got plenty to get into. But I do have a special guest joining this show, and I hinted this last episode. Obviously, there's no overall promotion of it because he is not a social media star. However, because I thought to myself, I was like, what is the best way to recap a Mets athletic series? It would be to bring on the biggest A's fan that I know, which happens to be someone that I have known for my entire life. So please help us, everybody, welcome my dad to the show. Dad, welcome to Mets Weekly.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely an honor. This is my first time, at least, on Mets Weekly, and I'm a big fan. But now I get to actually share my opinions of the games as you do very well every week and after all those games. But yes, just so I don't know if it was mentioned, but Carson and I went to the game yesterday, which turned out to be a very quick game, which is kind of interesting because to get there, we had to drive almost an hour to a ferry boat, and that ferry was about an hour or 45 minutes, and then you had to do the same thing going back. So we had probably about 5.5 hours of traveling to a 2 hour and 20-minute game, which the Mets, at least in that case, they didn't throw that many walks and they didn't take that much time. So it's probably one of the shortest games I ever went to, but it was, if you're a Mets fan, as I saw many of the fans there, there weren't not too many pleased, not much to really cheer about. And there, Peralta, he was pitched okay, but other than that, it was really not much to cheer about.
It's in comparison to the game that I think we went to in 2024, where it was Mets A's.
All right.
And I'm pretty sure it was like a J.J. Bleday grand slam off of Jose Quintana. That was Jose Quintana's final start before he went, haywire in September, and was one of the key parts to them making the playoffs.
All right.
And that one was like a 3.5 hour game, one of the longest you've seen in the pitch clock era.
When we go to a game, usually they tend to either go, if they don't go in extra innings, they just so many walks and errors, and the games will drag on for well over 3 hours. But now, with the pitch clock rule and the Mets deciding, like you said, Andrew, not to hit, they have made it a very quick event. 2 hours. 2:20 was the total time of the game. But
I thought it was relatively. I thought it was relatively convenient because it was cold-ish. So I felt like if it continued to get a little bit later, we would probably be chilling in less than 50-degree weather.
Well, I was expecting, which has happened to us also, that the Mets would tie it up and somehow we'd probably have to leave by the 15th inning or something. Of course, the boat doesn't go until the game ends, so I guess you could be there all night. I don't know how late it would happen, but
so either way, Dad, I want you to explain something before we get into it, because I do get questions about this all the time of my Raiders fandom, obviously, because I am a Mets, Raiders, Rangers, Knicks fan. Where I always talk about with being a Raiders fan, it comes from my dad, who also is an A's fan for both of those teams that were both in Oakland. Now they've both been uprooted. They're both moving to Las Vegas. You guys are playing in a minor league ballpark, which is barely getting shown by Rob Manfred and co. because it's an embarrassment. So if you want to explain your origin story of being an A's fan or Raiders fan.
I probably got into baseball a little younger than when you first did, but I was about 6. And at the time, the A's weren't the best team, but they were a good team. And they had players like Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, and they were a very colorful team. They were fun to watch. I grew up in a house where my dad was a lifelong Pirates fan. My brother was a Reds fan, although he probably won't admit to that anymore. But so it wasn't unusual to be, rooting for a team outside of New York City area. Obviously, in my family, and I passed this tradition to Carson, that if you root for the Yankees, you can find other arrangements. You can live elsewhere. There's other places we can send you. So he conveniently found the Mets, and he's been I'll give him credit. He's stuck with them through. Our first game was 2011, and he was the the one with Dylan G pitched, and But just so people,
2.5 hour rain delay.
I don't know if you could see it on his picture there, but over his right shoulder, I always showed. I don't know if he mentioned it on his broadcast, but I
think I've shown it years ago. It was
there's
the
a ticket
sign.
Where my dad used to take me to Mets games, so we did at least enjoy, going to that, to the old Shea Stadium. And I remember seeing Mets Braves was the first game I went to, 1971. And then Mets Giants and Mets Pirates, we got once a year we'd go. But the game ticket behind him is, I got a friend of mine was up in college, and he called back then they didn't have the internet or anything in '86, and he called to get tickets for the World Series. So he called, got 2 tickets for Game 6, 2 tickets for Game 7, and we got, the tickets, and we were deciding who's going to go. There were 4 of us, who's going to go to Game 6, who's going to go to Game 7. So my friend and I wound up going to Game 6, and we were there, and he wanted to leave, like after the Red Sox took a 2-run lead. I says, where are we going to go? So it was turned out to be one of the greatest events, and I still had. So I when I got home, I said, let me make sure I keep that ticket in good shape. And we've, what was it? We had the chance. Actually, we met him 3 times now, but Mookie Wilson was in, near us, so I got him to sign it. And then we were at another event where Keith Hernandez and Roger McDowell, who also played in that game, not as famous as Wilson, but all 3 of their signatures are on there. You can't see it when you see it, but that's that.
It's in frame when there's less people, or like
it's right above the Seaver Way sign there that he had. Yeah. So that's something that it's been passed down to him, and he'll carry that with him. So I definitely have a lot of memorable moments of going to Shea Stadium and Citi Field. So even though I've been a lifelong A's fan, most of my games obviously have been at the
and you
Citi
are confirming it here, because Blast Radius here in the chat is saying, is he really an A's fan, or is he trolling Carson? No, he's not trolling me. He's been an A's fan his entire life.
No, believe me, if I could survive 1979, which was like, you think the Mets have had bad seasons? That was a year when they had a game against the Mariners where they had 650 people show up. I stuck with the A's, and they were great. Obviously they won 3 in a row, 72, 74, and then after 75 they were still good. 76 they were starting to unravel, and then by 77 they were just a mess, and by 79 it was just the whole team was gone, because it's free agency, and I stuck with them. Some of the guys like Jeff Newman and Wayne Gross, they were their quote stars. They really had nothing. They were really down to the studs. Then they brought Billy Martin in as their manager, and he helped them somewhat, but then he kind of trashed their team. But they had an owner back in the 80s who actually wanted to win. He brought a lot of guys in, and they won 3. They went to 3 World Series, only won 1 in '89. But now, as Mets fans, we can commiserate, and we're realize that it's been almost 40 years now.
Well, listen.
But you guys at least have a possibility. At least you have the tools to. I don't know that the A's could ever.
Well,
get to that level.
Again, you don't have to talk about us with bad ownership, because you obviously have one of the worst in all
you
of
had
baseball.
it's
very known. But we had a family of nepotism for years. And it just continued to be this toxic stew that was, I guess, saved by Steve Cohen, even though he's starting to realize that spending money doesn't mean that you're going to automatically have a fantastic team. And also the fact that, Citi Field was built on an ancient burial ground that's cursed, and you can't win whatsoever. We got Danny Caps here in the chat. He's also a Raiders fan, by the way.
Right. He did say cancel John Fisher, which I approve of.
Yes,
I approve of that. And he
cancel John Fisher, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
We suggest also some other things be done to him, but we can't say them on here.
Right. Well, in 2014, I thought that was the year the A's, if anything, they had the best record in baseball in like July. They had like 7 All-Stars. They even brought in some other pitchers. And then for whatever reason, who actually eventually helped the Mets in 2015, they decided we're going to trade our best hitter, Yoenis Cespedes, to I think it was the Red Sox at the time, and we'll get a pitcher for him. John Lester, who showed up at the A's and said, "What did he say, Cars?" He said, "I'm going to go to the."
He was
ready to go.
He's like, "I'm either going to the Cubs or the Yankees," and
he already talked about the team he's going to be with next year. And the A's stopped hitting, and the whole team. They did make the playoffs, but this only as a wild card, and they wound. So that was that's John Fisher. That's the way. If you're too good, he doesn't want it. If Shohei Ohtani was on the A's, he'd be gone, or even Juan Soto, or So you guys can probably going to get, not if you want him. Nick Kurtz will be eventually he'll be available, I guess. When
You're a farm system for the rest of the league.
Basically
Maybe
it.
they'll move to Vegas. It'll be a little bit different.
That's
you
how they
locked in
view.
some of your young guys. Who knows? But Andrew, do you finally understand where the Raiders fandom comes from? Like this is where it stems from.
The Raiders were different, but yes, it came from that too. That liking a team in Oakland, but the Raiders, it was a different. They were actually just an exciting team to watch, and I like Ken Stabler and a lot of those guys. But again, that's a lot of misery and suffering. And if we get into the Knicks and Rangers, you'll be here all night talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, group therapy.
Yeah, I'm thinking right now in my mind, I'm like, yo, we got to cut this short. This is going quick.
No,
this is going
want to talk
fast.
about fan base misery. Then we could bring on some other teams.
Yeah, Carlos here saying in the chat, are you still going to root for them?
No, I will root for them in Vegas. You always say you want to root for the team, not the not help the owner. But if I'm ever out there for football or baseball, I would definitely go see a game if I can. But I'm curious to see how it's going to be in July and August when it's 100 degrees out there. How many people they're going to get to come to the games, but. We'll see. But
playing in 90-degree heat in August in West Sacramento is definitely not an ideal.
Well, their AAA team was already playing out there in that.
Yeah, but they play a lot more night games where
it's going to be all night games, kind of like the Texas, the Rangers, mostly night games.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, we've got some other stuff to get into. Andrew, if there's anything you want to add to the A's fandom here and the Raiders fandom, because you obviously troll me a lot with the Raiders, and listen, everybody can troll me a lot with the Raiders because they've been very embarrassing for the past 2 decades plus.
Yeah, so, but Andrew, now Carson keeps telling me being the worst team in football and getting rid of your coach and getting the first draft pick, that's just all good stuff.
We don't have time for this argument live. We just don't. We don't.
You're getting off the track here. This is Mets Weekly, not
exactly.
Raiders group therapy. So.
Exactly. I'll put this in because again, tanking for a quarterback that shops at Whole Foods is probably not the best option, but that's the point.
I'm sure there are some Jets fans.
They need a QB like that because of the culture that's been set in Vegas since they moved there. Either way, no, he doesn't really know as much about the Drury lore, but I try to fill him in as much.
Yeah, he's made it quite clear to me that the Rangers are going nowhere. Which I agree with. I'm not as close to it as he is. I'm not emotional.
Here's where Andrew steps in, Dad. As you can obviously see the hat that he's wearing.
I think he's doing a great job. I think you need that 5-year extension. Just go full Iser plan. Give him 15 years of let him build mediocrity and be fine. But let's get to this.
If we stole your coach, I thought we'd do something.
Exactly.
I guess not.
Sullivan's system works when you're fast and forechecking. What do the Rangers not have? Fast and forecheckers. Well, that's supposed to work.
Dino Drury in the house.
I
Tony's saying,
listen to his show all the time. Yep, I'm always a big fan.
Both my parents are big fans of the show. Sometimes they're not a fan of what I'm saying because sometimes
always try to say keep your.
We try to
profanity to a minimum.
A little bit. We've got Ibby in the chat as well from Till Mets Do Us Part.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of people in here. Daniel Berry in the chat as well. We've got Daniel Caps as well in here. We got plenty of Daniels that watch our show. But either way, for those of you maybe if you have a question for my dad, we'll save maybe for the end. We can, even though we've already gotten deep into it. First, we have to actually talk about the games that went on here.
I know you don't want to, but yes, so you got to talk about the.
I'm good to talk about anything. All right, I am okay. Whether it's licking the wounds or patching up the wounds, I'm good with it. But either way, let's get into these 3 games that happened between the New York Mets and the Athletics, who do not have a city yet, but they're about to be Las
They are
Vegas.
just so people are clear, they're the Sacramento Athletics. Even though Rob Manfred doesn't want any city
the Kansas
attached
City,
to them.
Philadelphia, Oakland, West Sacramento, Las Vegas Athletics.
They're in West Sacramento. They're the same name as the the AAA team they share the stadium with. Sacramento
really rolls
Bees.
off your tongue when I say it. It really rolls off your tongue.
Definitely.
Either way, but for those of you who are just coming into this show or watching it just for this season or last season, these segments are done in video form just to keep everything going quick a little bit more, as they are pre-recorded following the series. So here it is, the full-on series recap of Mets versus A's games 14, 15, and 16 of 162, Mets and Athletics. To kick off the Mets' first interleague series of the year, Clay Holmes would make his third start of the season, and he was pretty sharp for the most part. However, following a one-out single to Jacob Wilson in the sixth, Holmes would exit the game with an injury, which would later be announced as left hamstring tightness. Bias Myers would come in to finish the inning, closing the book on Clay Holmes. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts on 81 pitches. Myers would come back out for the 7th and the 8th, retiring 6 in a row, but he'd come back out for the 9th and struggle. Jacob Wilson would lead off with a single that he'd stretch over to second base due to a fielding error by left fielder Carson Benj, setting up former Met Jeff McNeil to extend the A's lead on an RBI single. Later on in the frame, with second and third 2 out, Denzel Clark would plate a pair with a 2-run single up the middle to post up a 3 spot in the 9th for the Athletics. Richard Lovelady would finish the inning and get the last 2 outs on 5 pitches. As for the Mets offense, a goose egg in the run column on 6 hits, featuring a costly miscue on the base paths by Francisco Lindor at third base, leaving the Mets scoreless through their last 17 innings of baseball as they drop the series opener and lose their 3rd in a row, 4-0. In the second game of the series, the Mets would get off to a quick start against left-hander Jacob Lopez. Runner at second, 2 out, Bo Bichette would plate Luis Robert Jr. on an RBI single to center field, giving the Mets a 1-0 lead. However, Kodai Senga would make his 3rd start of the year, and he would post possibly the worst outing of his Mets career. The A's would tie the game on a bases-loaded walk in the second, followed by an RBI force-out by Lawrence Butler to give them the lead, and in the next inning, runner at third, Tyler Soderstrom would launch a 2-run shot to the right field screen to make it 4-1. Later that inning, 2 on, 1 out, former Mets minor leaguer Carlos Cortez would blast a 406-foot rocket to the bullpens, a 3-run shot, giving the A's a 6-run lead. Senga would exit after that exact pitch, 2 1/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 72 pitches, as Huskar Brazaban would come on and finish the inning. He'd come right back out for the 4th and the 5th and toss up zeros in both with 2 strikeouts in total, but the Mets' freezing cold bats would fight back. Runner at first, 2 out, Bo Bichette would pop his first home run as a Met, a 2-run shot, cutting the lead to 7-3. Brooks Raley would keep it that way, tossing a scoreless inning with a strikeout in the 6th. On to the bottom of the 6th, Francisco Alvarez would lead off the inning with a solo home run that would deflect off the glove of Denzel Clark and ricochet off the padding beyond the orange line for his 4th home run of the year. Later in that inning, runners at the corners, no one out, pinch hitter Brett Beatty would cut the lead to 7-5 with a sacrifice fly to center field, scoring Carson Benj. Veteran reliever Craig Kimbrell would make his Mets debut in the 7th and toss a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts, working around a 2-out hit. And following stretch time at Citi Field, Jorge Polanco, batting left for the first time in the game, would pull one to the right field corner for his first home run of the year, cutting the A's lead to 1. But the Athletics would respond in the 8th against Luke Weaver, who would completely implode. 2 on, 2 out, Shea Langoliers would slash an RBI single to left field to make it 8-6. The very next batter, Tyler Soderstrom, would strike once again, this time a 3-run homer off the facing of Shea Bridge to take the air out of the entire stadium. His 2nd home run of the day for a 5 RBI game. Luis Garcia would then pitch the 9th and toss a scoreless inning with a strikeout, and the Mets offense would not respond after, as their 7-1 comeback falls short and stalls out, handing the A's the first 2 games of the series and handing the Mets their 4th straight loss, 11-6. And in the series finale, Freddie Peralta would make his 4th start as a Met, and he would balloon his pitch count in the beginning of the game, but settle in to pitch through 6 frames. The only blemish on his line would be a solo home run in the 3rd inning by last year's AL Rookie of the Year Nick Kurtz to put the A's ahead. Peralta would end his day with 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts on 100 pitches. Sean Manaea would mop up the rest of the game and was very sharp in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, tossing 3 innings pitched, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts on 41 pitches. As for the Mets offense, they would put up their second goose egg of the series, getting shut out for the 3rd time this season as the A's complete the sweep of the Mets in Queens, 1-0. The Mets are now 7-9 on this young season, currently on a 5-game losing streak, as they travel out west to play the defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers starting tonight at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so there it is. There are all 3 games fully run down. Andrew, I will start with you first. Obviously, I guess we can hint down to the dud category with that certain pitcher who completely blew up. But overall, 5 losses in a row. Not pretty whatsoever. It's not looking great. I mean, we'll see where it takes us, but it was quite a slog of a homestand here.
Yeah, I mean, when you end a 17-inning scoreless streak in a series, it's not a good sign. Again, overall, the bats have been anemic, and the only positives, if you want to call it that, is Bo looks a slight better. Carson Bench got a few hits in this series and made a phenomenal play in center field, so you like to see that. But it was complete, it was a ghost town. And the thing that pisses me off, and we'll go straight to the last game of the series. It's 1-0, whatever. Kurtz hits the homer, cool. That 9th inning approach, it was 3 pitches. 3 ground balls to end the, are you kidding me? That was the thing that pissed me off. And there's a lot of things that pissed off a lot of fans in this series. The fact that this is you're going on the road. This is the last time your home fans are going to see you, and it was 3 pitches on 3 weak ground balls to Jeff McNeil. That is the type of thing that just, how are you? Take a pitch. And I get it was Bo Bichette. Obviously Bo was going to swing first pitch. Polanco swung first pitch, and then Vientos singing first pitch. And I'm sitting there at work, and I'm like, I threw my phone while I was watching this game. I was just like, what are we doing? Happy birthday to me. That's how you get shut out on my birthday again. Great. Appreciate it. God love this team.
Everyone say happy birthday to Andrew, by the way.
But
yesterday.
And again, Peralta, 1 mistake to the American League Rookie of the Year. That's going to happen. But the fact that you have to make your pitchers, and this was a problem we had last year, or pre-OMG Mets, the fact that you have to, every pitcher that has to go out there has to be perfect because we don't have an offense that can show up and actually beat, again, I said this earlier, the A's pitching staff is not good. JT Ginn, the lefty that they beat up, they actually got some runs off the left, and Aaron Savali are not, in the big 2026, are not Kershaw, Greinke, and Madison Bumgarner in their prime. And they mowed us down like it. And the bullpen, which, again, there's not much. The body of
right.
Mark Leiter,
You're definitely right about that.
The decrepit body of Mark Leiter Jr. and not Josh Stallmeyer, Scott Barlow, wrong Royals reliever.
The deteriorating Scott Barlow.
Exactly. This is who you're getting carved by. They have that one dude that throws 100. That's the only. I think he closed out game 2. He throws 99. That's the only guy has decent stuff in that
Alvarado.
That dude. At least he's got stuff where it's okay, you could make the excuse. These guys were throwing mid-90s, and you were just getting carved. Mark Vientos, which, again, I gave Carson the chant last week because we know, it's the battle of mid and below mid. But everyone was like, oh, Mark Vientos is back. Oh, man, that was a great series out in the West Coast. This is 2024. Everyone pumping their chest. He left a whole Himalayan village on the base pass this series. But yeah, nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, yes, Beatty, he sucks. Everyone is sucking. Jorge Polanco, which has 1 leg, hits his first homer. Cool. Besides that, did nothing. Lindor, which we'll give Lindor his own segment later, the only guy that showed up in Game 3, he might be concussed. We don't know. This could be an Anthony Rizzo situation again, where the team doesn't, say, hey, there's something wrong with him. But let's not. As I mute myself, that's good. I didn't know I can do that on my keyboard. Besides the point, sorry about that. There's just the pitch, and then we can get to the pitching. Luke Weaver, obviously we'll get to the other guy, the starter, in a second. And again, this is more to Mendoza. Luke Weaver's coming off the outing in the Diamondback series where McLean is dominating, close game, whatever. He gives up the tying run, whatever. And he blows up, gives up the 4 runs. The fact that Carlos Mendoza, which again, go back out there, because again, this is one of your high leverage arms that you paid in the offseason. I get getting him back after to try to get the confidence back. But the fact that you don't have the feel to say, okay, you're going the last game of the homestand, you have Devin Williams up, and this was a close game. You see the Mets mounting a comeback. It's a 1-run ball game. And the fact that you don't have the hindsight to say, you know what, I still trust and have faith in Luke Weaver, as he should, but there's no safety net of he's coming off a bad last outing. This game is now close. This wasn't like it was 3 innings ago when it was 7-2. It's 7-6, and you don't have let's just have Devin Williams up, and you just let him go out there, and Soderstrom hits another absolute rocket over to absolutely kill the balloon, the momentum that this team was having, which again, we were thinking, in typical Mets fashion, the team that never could come back at all. When was it? 0-72 last year. You see this team start, hitting the homers, polo homers. You're thinking, okay, this is a game. Now you have the momentum. Keep it at a 1-run game, and who knows? Again, the A's bullpen is not good. You can make one more mistake, the game's tied, and hell, if there's a guy on, you have the lead. But nope, we're gonna just give it up. Leave Luke Weaver out to get absolutely destroyed, and then you get the result, and you get again that piss poor 9th inning, and then Kodai Senga. Which, again, everyone was so excited about Kodai because his first start was great. Throwing 99, all excited. The second start in San Francisco, velocity's down, but still, for the most part, was a solid outing. But then this is why I said I wanted him off this team. I don't care if there's anyone that wants him can take him because he is so in his head that the velocity, again, was down again, sitting 94, 95. Mm-hmm. And you see what happens. He's not throwing it in the strike zone because he does not trust his stuff in the strike zone. Walking guys, and then boom, dink and dunk. And again, Tyler Soderstrom, who's freaking prime Mike Trout in this series, another 3-run homer. And again, boom, your game's over. And again, you make the pity comeback just for it to fall flat. So it's just a bunch of the things that we continue to say on every one of these shows from last year into this one continues to show. And now the pitching, who, well, at least the first couple, the first 2 weeks into the season was a strength of this team, minus 2 guys that are not on this roster anymore. Now you're starting to see some blow-ups, and you finally get a good start out of Freddie Peralta, which, again, that's what he's going to be. Everyone losing their mind about Freddie Peralta. He makes one mistake, he loses 1-0. Again, would it be Jacob deGrom? He gives up 1 homer to an elite player. Shocker, you can't score 1-1 on a Sunday.
On a knuckle curve that was down and in.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
So, and he puts it in the Coca-Cola corner. I'm not going to yell at Freddie Peralta, but again, the fact that now we're putting the pressure back on pitchers. Hey, we can't hit right now. You got to go, 7 shutty. And then, and who are we playing next? The team that has, can score more runs than anybody in the world. Great. David Peterson, too. We'll get to that later. So, great series against the A's. Always fun. And happy birthday to me. Shutout and unproductive baseball. Gotta love it.
Yeah, my dad Dad, you had a good Andrew. You had a good Andrew's birthday. I mean, you spent Andrew's birthday. You were pretty happy. You get the sweep. Is that 5 in a row for the A's?
That is 5. But what was more encouraging was they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. So they played 6 straight games and 6 straight days. And then fortunately they lost that first game to the Yankees. I was a little upset about that. But I was kind of hoping if they were going to lose one, it'd be to the Mets. Just so you know, yes, if you guys sweep the Yankees, I'll be more than happy to come back on and talk about that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But that before they came to New York, they had given up 25 runs in 3 games against the Astros, even though they did manage to win 2 of them. But they, one game they had 12 runs. They needed 12 runs to win. The other game they lost like 11-0. So, but then, once they came here, I understand, generally in the colder weather. It was really cold this week, but for the most part, but they definitely played a lot better than I've seen, so they are at least giving us some hope. But this, as an A's fan, I kind of know that April, May, that's kind of, they're built for that. And then as things get a little bit tougher, they get a couple injuries. They're not very deep, so things start to unravel quickly, and then by June, July, they're dumping payroll and sending guys wherever.
Yeah, I
mean,
we all know that song and dance. I mean, the thing is that I was talking about this before this series started, and I said, and this I feel like came from a lot of the impression of, a lot of Mets fans too on social media. They would talk about it, and they're like, oh, well, this is a team that plays in a minor league ballpark. It's a launching pad. That's the reason why their lineup is so good. And I was saying it. I was coming from the other angle, and I said, well, this is a good lineup. This is a really good A's lineup. They have pop in their bat. They have guys who will spit on pitches. They'll work counts. They'll be pests. Even you saw Denzel Clark completely annihilate us for the bottom part of the order.
Yeah. They had always had, Langolier, Soderstrom, Rooker. Well, Rooker hasn't played, but he was. What was the other
Rooker got hurt before the series started.
Right. But then you had the other guys, Kurtz and Wilson. Obviously is
Langoliers is something else. They got him in the Matt Olson trade, though. So thank you for giving the Braves Matt Olson. That was very nice of you.
I certainly wasn't my fault. So. But no, they definitely have an ability to get a lot of guys in through the system and bring guys from other organizations and build, but they just don't hold on to them, and that's been their issue, right? So then they're always it's like always a revolving door. So we'll see. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, luckily
you locked down some guys though.
They did. Unfortunately, the one guy they did lock down, Lawrence Butler. He's probably, if you want to talk about a dud, he's probably was of this series at least. He was probably the dud. He went 1 for 13. He really didn't do much. I think he had a couple plays in the field. That one we saw, I think, was nice. But he's got to do better, especially if you're going to be leading off. I don't think that's going to. He's not going to be a top
you have a deep enough lineup to where he can probably bat seventh and he can do some damage in that way. And to be honest, he'll get going because he's still a young player. That's a young team that you got there. But either way, I mean, your team showed out.
Yeah, no,
our team basically decided whenever they wanted to show up, and that was more in that second game, obviously. Yeah. But, you were talking about this even before we went live, like earlier on when we were, out, and you were talking about it. It's like, what was impressive was obviously the pitching holding it together the way that they did, because going into this series, the A's were leading the major leagues in walks. I'm pretty sure they were also leading the league. I don't think it was in home runs allowed, but extra base hits allowed. So it was kind of a mess so far. And to be honest, I think all kind of expected it from the A's to not have the best pitching. We know that they have some pitching prospects that could be coming up. They have that Gage Jump kid. They have the
Gage Jump guy. Jamie Arnold is now in Midland.
Jamie Arnold
week.
is another one.
So.
Yeah.
No, but it was. Yeah, I mean, when Luis Severino is considered your ace, that's you're not going to get much. But I was impressed, at least. The guy who I think, at least for you talk about studs, that really, because he pitched game 1 of the Yankees series, even though they lost, was Aaron Savali. He's really pitching well, and
he's a good veteran pitcher. He's he's a solid depth guy. He was with Cleveland, right? He was with Cleveland a little bit. He pitched some good big games for them as well. Like, he's just a good veteran guy to have around. No, he's not going to be a complete world beater whatsoever because he throws like 90, 91 miles an hour down the middle most of the time.
That was enough. Did
it really matter? Did it really matter, to be honest? Because it seemed like none of us on our side was paying attention whatsoever. But again, I think we also have to address the elephant in the room, and Andrew, I'll bring it to you here. Jeff McNeil in this series.
Yeah, he was 6 for 30. Just so you know, I have a lot of arguments with Carson McNeil. The one thing about Jeff McNeil as an A versus as a Met, our expectations and our needs are very different than what the Mets expected from him. We're not paying him as much. But for a guy who at least started out, he really didn't start out well. He went 6 for 13 against the Mets. He had a few hits against the Yankees, so I'm all in. This guy's he's our second baseman as far as I'm concerned, and it's not like he'll ever hit another home run. It's
not like he's not. It's not like he's not. He's not major league player at all. I think it was just more of the situation of how tired we were of him for 8 years. And Andrew, you and I
get it. Yeah.
have kind of led this charge against Jeff McNeil for a while. And obviously our third co-host is a huge Jeff McNeil fan. So if he was here, then we would probably be going 2v2. But, Andrew, of course, right? I mean, come on. Of course. Like, there's no way that doesn't happen, right? I mean, it's so obvious.
I mean, I don't know what hurt me more when Paul Sewald came in and when he was a Diamondback and was like shoving up the fans, or watching Jeff McNeil do these little gerbil flips into left field, pulling it down the right field line. At least he didn't homer, because I knew he would have done that stupid thing, the little train he used to drive. So at least he didn't homer, which was, the benefit. Jeff McNeil lifting a ball is like, a challenge. But hey, he's gone. That 17-year-old, I don't even know what position he is. We're gonna
Rodriguez.
Exactly. We hold him in a high standard. He's gonna be the number one prospect in baseball. But no, again. But if we all knew this, it's anytime a Met comes home, and especially we gave the tribute video and everyone was crying and giving him a standing ovation, and I wanted to jump off the bunk bed that I was building at the time, and but no, of course
I saw they were hugging with Lindor. They were
Lindor,
and that's the other thing that it just puts it completely on blast, because of course we know about the history between Lindor and McNeil. They did not get along as much for the most part. Maybe it's a little bit more far-fetched in the media or whatever, but just seeing Jeff McNeil succeed the way that he was in this series, and he was having his way. He was absolutely just destroying our pitchers, and not to mention driving up big counts as well, and tiring us out the way that the prime Jeff McNeil that we remember as the good Jeff McNeil does. So there's a little bit left of that in there, but also seeing Francisco Lindor struggle the way that he has, and the whole controversy behind him, and how like the media wants to throw a tomato in his face constantly, especially in April, constantly when he has a slow start. And we'll get into Francisco Lindor later, probably when my dad goes off to sleep, right, at like 8.
Okay.
No,
I'm not that old,
but it's just typical.
Well, the other guy that I, looking from an A standpoint, because I remember Marcus Semien was like the real deal when he was with the A's, and he obviously won a World Series with the Rangers. He just doesn't. Yeah. That's not the Semien I remember, at least. But maybe they'll be like a lot of these guys. They're supposedly, when the weather gets warmer, they're all going to start hitting. But I don't know. But it's not a. I guess it's still got a glove there, but it's wasn't much hitting from Semien there. But the other thing too, Cars, which I think we talked about, is two Mets prospects, right? That you had Carlos Cortez, who's had some hits, and then JT Ginn, who I never had anything against him, but when we traded for Bassett, what was it? We got Adam Mahler and JT Ginn, and Adam Mahler was just awful. He's gone. I think he works somewhere.
I don't think he's in the league anymore.
I don't think
he had
plays
like a cup of
baseball
coffee
anymore.
with the Marlins.
But
I think.
JT Ginn, he was always there, but he was always never healthy. So they kept saying, "Oh yeah, he'll come." Now he's actually like, I don't know how great he's going to do, but he pitched well. He definitely did what he needed to do, and it was like, okay, at least now, but you realize that was a guy from the Mets, and now Bassett's where? He's with Toronto?
Bassett's in Baltimore now.
Or Baltimore,
Yeah.
okay.
He reunited with the Cheeto Bear at first base.
Oh, that's right, yes. Now you got two ex-Mets there. So.
Yeah, but no, Andrew, we talked about JT Ginn a lot. Before he was traded, obviously. No, he's... He was expected to be a first-round talent at one point, and then he got Tommy John surgery. He was at Mississippi State, I think, somewhere. Yep. Yeah, and then we traded him. He was the keynote piece, and then they're also in their their futures game, or they also had Cade Morris in there, who we traded for Paul Blackburn. So you have some Mets lore on your team. You definitely have plenty of it.
You want to take our players, you got to give us something back.
Exactly.
The JT Jenner was never the talent. I think it was just always the injuries, and you never really knew what do we have here, because it kept dragging on. When's he going to actually get the pitch? So now hopefully he'll get like a full season, and we'll see. But I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, he's just had a lot of injuries. He regularly he's a back end guy. He'll be a back end guy for you, but he can be solid. I mean, he really could, and we'll see if it stays there. I mean, we hope that you'd hope that the player development gets better as they get over to Vegas and they move on. But
well, a guy you might consider a back end guy, he's probably our second or third starter right now. So, between Savali and Severino, although
I mean, you have plenty of Mets lore on your team. Okay, you have the highest paid player ever in Luis Severino, who it hasn't really gone well for him there.
He's our Juan Soto.
He's your Juan Soto.
From a standpoint,
and then I'm pretty sure your second highest paid player
ever.
Your second highest paid player ever was our hitting coach for 4 years, who we wanted, completely put in a box and shifted off of the Whitestone Bridge.
The thing with Chavez, he was the highest paid, was one of the highest paid, but he hadn't played for the A's since like 2004 or whatever. So it's kind of ironic.
Well, he was with the Yankees too.
Right, but I'm saying it shows you that they don't give out many big contracts. So I think what's Severino, 75 million or so, and
I think he has like a player option, which he's obviously taking at this rate.
I would probably assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Severino, it was a 1 year deal thing. Andrew, we talked about this when they signed him. I really liked it because I thought it was a good flyer to take, and it all really just had to do with him staying healthy. But we knew that that was a 1 year thing, and a lot of people obviously talked about it. And with another thing, the comparison of the Frankie Montas and when they signed him, that obviously was a complete disaster, arguably the worst move that David Stearns made. So that's another one. That's a former A as well for you. We also have Sean Manaea too, which is also another contract that we're burning. But it's
Sean Manaea, another XA. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We have traded back and forth so much. Yeah.
Bartolo, you want Chris Bassick? Bartolo
we can do it. We can do it plenty. I mean, we even had Mets A's lore in the booth with Ron Darling at Safefield. I mean,
another.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you sent him to us.
I mean, there was so much. There was so much so much of Mets A's. They're connected. Obviously, in '73 they play in the World Series, right? So it's like, I think that there
Jed
are
Lowry,
history, and it's also a good.
Mentioned.
Andrew,
Jed Lowry
you
was
like
better for the A's than for the Mets.
Yeah. He came back. He went back to the A's, and he actually hit pretty well.
Yeah, he was
after that leg surgery there. Like, Oakland was his happy place. That was his happy place.
There's one thing to say about when you're out there is that I imagine maybe McNeil will see it. Like, there's a lot less pressure. Nobody's really going to come up to you. No media in Sacramento is going to be sitting there pounding on you because you got went on a streak of like 1 for 20 or something. They don't. Yeah. In New York, they want to know what's wrong with you. What are you doing?
There's no microscope.
It's a lot easier whatsoever. From a media standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that comes with a lot of the adjustment that maybe some of these new players are going through. We've talked about it before. It's kind of a tradition to be the worst version of yourself in the first month or first 2 months when you come over to the Mets. Juan Soto was not fantastic in the first month that he was here. We all know Francisco Lindor wasn't, even dating back to Carlos Beltran. He wasn't that good. There was plenty of guys who were not fantastic in their first month here. But we'll see it. There's a difference between the A's media.
You definitely need. It was pretty clear after yesterday. You definitely need Soto back in that lineup every day, and like a healthy Soto, not a guy who's
he can take my calf at this rate because this is really.
I don't know when that's supposed to happen.
It's a slog right now. Yeah, but we did actually activate Tommy Pham today. He's going to be facing a lefty. Right. So enforce something in that locker room because he'll run his mouth if you provoke him. All right.
And we all know Craig Kimbrell in. You brought.
Craig Kimbrell's here. We're bringing in a squad of veterans once again.
The 2010 All-Star.
But now you actually have a farm that's like young enough that maybe it'll be young enough and they'll be proactive. But either way, we'll transition right into the studs and duds here.
Okay.
of the series. One player that was good in this series that we want to give the flowers to. One that was not. Dad, you can do the ace side of things.
Well, for the Yankees,
yeah. I mean,
I have a couple.
if you want to start off with stud,
if you want to say one, I'm probably going to have to say Jeff McNeil, which I know you don't want me to.
You could.
But I also had Aaron Savale and Carlos Cortez too were good. But the so as far as studs go, on the dud side, the only two guys that really I felt for the A's didn't. Lawrence Butler, he's got to start hitting because you're going to lead off. You got your contract extension. I mean, for what the A's offered him, which is not going to be anywhere near somebody else, but he at least got some, they at least re-signed him. And Jacob Lopez, he was really the only pitcher, I think, that gave up any runs. I think there was one. Right.
Saying ban this man for saying Jeff McNeil.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to use the what do you guys use? You call him Orange Cheeto. What do you use for McNeil?
The gerbil.
I mean, you're the gerbil. You say the gerbil. I call him plenty of things I can't say on stream. But yeah, I mean Lawrence Butler so far. I mean he's got what at this point so far. 516 OPS right now. Not really hitting as much. To be honest, you guys came into this series not really hitting that much. Like Orange Cheeto. That's another variant of that. Dad, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's another variant.
Is that the?
Yeah, it's Cheeto Bear. That's what we call him. Originally, it was White Bear because a polar bear is a white bear. And then we went to Cheeto Bear because now he's in
Cheeto
Baltimore.
Squirrel. I don't know. You want the flying squirrel?
Yeah, the Cheeto Squirrel. There's plenty of stuff there, but yeah, no. Lawrence Butler's a good one. Obviously, I always just see him as like this, jack of all trades type of player that just give you tools. I think he's more of a lower in the order type of guy because his bat's a little inconsistent. He had a really, really good year. What was it, 2024 or whatever?
Yeah,
and then he got that big contract.
He's got to start hitting. I mean. Denzel Clark at least got a couple hits. He's never going to be much of a hitter, but at least with him, it's all his glove, But with Cortez, who knows? He might start seeing some more action out there in the outfield. For the Mets, there wasn't a lot to hear about. I mean, you had, was the one guy. Like I said, I just don't remember. Or I remember a much different player was Marcus Semien. I mean, maybe he'll turn it around, but he just didn't see that. Maybe because the at bats, like Andrew was saying, they just kind of like were
they all blend together.
Well, no, but like one pitch, weak hit, and then they're out, and they're like, okay, and it was quick and painless, but it was like, boy, they really weren't really what you call competitive ABs. So I don't know, but. Yeah, I mean, Bichette looks like he's starting to hit a little bit, but it's, a work in progress. Yeah, definitely make sure Soto is recovering. Make sure he doesn't have any wild boars on his property or anything like that. While he's recovering. Or either. So,
don't even. I mean, we can go on and on about it. Andrew, I'll go to you. I mean, if there's anybody that you want to on the stud or the dud side, I mean, we're going to talk about one dud in like his own segment, obviously, because he's a key player. But there were plenty of duds to point out. I mean, you can put it completely in a mix. You already hinted at plenty of guys who were not fantastic in this series.
So it was a negative series, but there's one positive. And I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to say this man's name. So, and just because Frank's not here, I will do it for Frank. Shout out Craig Kimbrell. 1, 2, 3 inning, 2 punchies. I mean, that's what you want to see out of, a Hall of Famer. Because, again, that's how bad this, series was. That, that's our biggest dud. I mean, again, Freddie was great. Again, one mistake. They got his pitch count up. But, again, you score, you give up one run. You should be able to, can keep your team in the ballgame. It'd be nice for your team to score runs. Again, and like I said, Bichette looked better. A couple hits. Like, it's just kind of, you don't know what the hell this team is going to be at times. If I were to say the overall dud, I mean, take your pick. I'll give it to Luke Weena. Go ahead, Senga. Yep, I'm going Senga. Again, because this is the type of thing that again, everyone's like, oh, he's back. He's back. The Ghost Fork looks good. And as soon as you see a little bit of confidence from every, a general population of Mets fans, oh, let me just lay the big old goose egg that I always do. And to shocker, again, he doesn't trust his stuff, and the velocity continues to go down, which, again, he doesn't even have the excuse, for at least the last time, second start, it was on a normals, starter's pace. They had the off day on Monday, so you had the extra day, and you thought, hey, maybe can we see that 99 again one more time, please? That was very pretty when you threw 99. No.
Yeah.
Still sitting 95, 96, which you should be good enough. I mean, when you're throwing 99, I mean, that's beautiful, but you don't trust your stuff, and you're walking in runs, and then, you got Soderstrom hitting the bomb, Denzel Clark. We walked Clark. They gave the hit. Forgot who it was. They got the hit. But again, and then the Soderstrom bomb. I mean, Langalier's got another RBI single in there, too. So it's like, again, he's got all the talent in the world, and I'm not doubting the talent that he has. He doesn't have it, and as much as I don't have it up here, he don't have it up here because he's got no faith in himself. Yeah. And it's just infuriating because you see that talent is there, but he just doesn't have the mental fortitude that, one, is a bulldog to, go through that kind of rough outing. But no, he's just going to nibble and nibble and nibble, and you get what you get.
It's funny you say that because, to be honest, he was facing a lot of adversity in that first inning in that game where it was a broken bat single.
Yep.
A little dump into left field. Carson Bench screws up in left field, which, Carson Bench, another one, like arguably defensively, you can say, did not have a fantastic series, and then he kind of saved it with that diving catch in center field in the final game. But he was facing some adversity. He had the pitch com mess up as well. I think he had like a botched double play or something. There was plenty of adversity, and he was able to keep them off the board. The second inning comes around a little bit, and he loses the strike zone a little bit, and then that third inning just completely brutal. I mean, another guy you can put out there, I mean, even though he did not play that third and final game, Luis Robert continues to impress once again. I am holding off from saying Francisco Alvarez, even though he has been he has been fantastic offensively. His defense has been a massive negative impact for this team, especially when you have pitchers who struggle a lot, either it is in the cold or just going deep into games in general. But I mean, it's just, other guys in the dead category. Well, obviously, we'll get into Francisco Lindor, but, Luke Weaver, really rough homestand for him, was not fantastic. Luis Garcia, who just got DFA'd, he did not look great either. But so long to him. And then another underrated guy that I don't think we were talking about a lot with the stud category. I really thought Luis Torrens had a really good game yesterday, not only just at the plate or working counts or whatever, but I really thought he called a really, really good game for the circumstances of Peralta losing the strike zone a little bit at the beginning. And then it looked like they made some adjustments there for the back half, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth inning of that outing. I thought it was impressive, but Dad, I'll give you the last question here. Obviously, okay. Do you believe in the hype of this A's team now coming out of this New York road trip, or do you think that it's too long of a season to determine now? Because we have a lot of Mets fans right now on the other side jumping off of a bridge right now.
No, I mean, with the A's and having their ownership in the situation they're in, you take what you can get. So I know they're not going to be winning any World Series, and but at least you can. Hey, look, you say, all right, look, they won 5 in a row. The fact they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees even thrills me even more than sweeping the Mets. Like anytime they beat the Yankees, that's like joy to me. But the A's arc usually is they usually do well in April and May, and then as like any season, right, injuries start to pile up, and they don't really have a lot of depth, and then they got to bring in other guys, and then we'll see. You have to see down the road. But I'll tell you, the American League is pretty soft this year. It doesn't look like anyone is.
As of
I
right
don't
now,
see
yeah.
anyone like tearing it up. And I mean, obviously, you guys got to contend with the Dodgers, but like we're, in the AL, the A's are, after winning 5 in a row, they're like, they don't have the best record, but they're like second, or they're up there. So it's like, and they're only 8-7 or whatever, so it's not like they're incredible.
You're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of like teams. They get 2 wins or 2 losses. They're going to flip from first place to third place like afterwards. But Dad, one more thing that I want to point out here, obviously. The ABS system. You've been actually really enjoying this.
I'll tell you, as an A's fan, because I was watching the Yankees-A's game the other day, and every time the pitcher or the umpire called a pitch, in the Yankees' favor, the A's catcher or hitter would challenge it, and conveniently everyone would get overturned. So it was like, okay, now you at least have an advocate. You have something that is no bias, is neutral, and it's fast enough that it's not holding up the game. I think the idea of just having mostly the catchers are probably the best because they're in a position to see it, but it's not, to me. It's not. It certainly wasn't extending games because you had the one yesterday, right? It was still 2 hours and 20 minutes. They had a couple of calls, but I think it's been great. I mean, the technology's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we can actually do this. It won't mess up the game, but I'm all on board with that. Some of the things, the subtleties with the pitch clock kind of bothered me, but with like what is it, throwing over to first, or like you can only do
the
it
disengagements,
twice, whatever. But but this is definitely, I think, better, and it also at the end of the season, some guys you'll start to see, if you start to see some umpires with really lots of overturn, it's like, okay, now like Angel Hernandez would never survive this. He'd be gone. He would have been long gone.
I think he saw it coming, and that's
right. He said, they're going to do that.
He retired.
I can't be an umpire anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gives the team an opportunity to, like, at least, or the player who used to scream at the ump. Now we get to say, look, I think this was. And for some cases, it's worked out. I know Carson isn't as anti-Yankee as I am, but I always assume that
I'm more focused on the Mets. Like, I don't really focus on what they're doing, obviously.
Yeah.
But when it's warranted, sometimes I'll troll the Yankees, but it's not something that is my day job.
Well, I have this.
You grew up in the era where they were the evil empire. Maybe I will feel that way sometime about the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, the Dodgers
I feel that more about
that
the Braves, to be honest, because they've been a thorn in our side since forever.
Right.
But it's probably just more of the fact that they're not in the same, National League as us, but also it's the fact that, the Yankees' identity is a little bit different now. But Matt's saying here in the chat, one of our co-hosts here, saying, does Carson's dad like Beatty?
Well,
Are you a fan of Beatty?
I don't dislike him like Carson does. I don't really have any strong feeling. I know Carson's been very vocal on his opinions of Beatty. My feeling was for the Mets was that if he's like your 8-hole hitter, 9-hole hitter, whatever, and they had other guys were hitting, Brett Beatty would be sort of like whatever. He'd be a platoon guy, or he'd be. You wouldn't like count on him. But now the Mets are counting on him, and that's part of their problem. They need Brady to actually like be a really great hitter, and they're not going to get that. But I don't know. I'm not ready to totally throw in the towel.
It's because I haven't shown him the TikTok edits to annoy the crap out of him.
Right. Well, I don't.
That's why.
But I suspect that if he has another season, that he's probably going to be moved on like many others before him. So he'll probably wind up on the A's next year.
Maybe. Listen, I mean, actually, to be honest, Max Muncy's been playing well. We know that's not his natural position at third base, and then you also have Leo DeVries.
Yeah,
Leo DeVries or whatever we're calling him.
Just count down the days, so you can ship the gerbil out, and you can put the Martian or whatever they call the alien, whatever the mutant. That's what they call
the
him.
mutant.
The Martians in the
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. My concern with the A's is I always like them to be good, but not too good, because if they're really good, they'll be gone like instantly. Yeah. Like if we had an Ohtani or a Judge or a Soto,
I can already feel Kurt's going to the Yankees. I can already feel. I was talking about this with you before we went on, like a few hours ago. I believe Kurtz will be a Yankee because he is a big, burly, left-handed bat,
hitter,
and it's just
right.
a perfect. It's a perfect fit. Like, it's such a perfect fit, and the A's, hopefully they try to extend him. I know that they made an effort to try and extend him, but it doesn't look like that agreement came to. But hopefully they can keep him long term. But I'm hoping that the A's don't go with this mentality of, the Yankees want him, take him, go ahead. And that's basically what you need to.
The Yankees, they were pretty quiet in their off-season signings, so who knows?
Jason Giambi.
Yes, but you guys can have him too. The Mets certainly. I'm sure if does get out on the free agent market, I'm sure Steve Cohn and David Stearns are going to have something to say about it.
I mean, I told you about him when he was drafted. I said that guy is going to be he was fourth overall for a reason. Usually you don't take first baseman that high.
He did get one. He got his first home run yesterday. We got to see that, so that was good.
Yeah, and he'll make his adjustments. I don't think he should be hitting leadoff. And like you said with Butler, I think Jacob Wilson should be your leadoff hitter because he's a very high contact
they didn't have
guy.
Wilson didn't play yesterday. And in fairness to the Mets, I know it's not an excuse, but they didn't have Beatty, Robert, or Alvarez yesterday playing. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm sure that would have made all the difference in the world, but
it possibly could have, because one swing of the bat, Robert and Alvarez have been the ones that are hitting for the most power on this team as of right now. Yeah. But either way, Dad, we're gonna let you go and relax.
No, thank you very much for.
We've worked you for an hour.
No, that's okay. I'm anytime, but I'm
all right.
I'm gonna get on and watch a little bit. I'm also gonna watch it tonight. Is not that there's too many. I don't know how many Rangers fans, but it's Jonathan Quick's last game, so I figure I'll watch him
win it for him
gracefully.
You gotta win it. Gotta get a win here. Yeah.
Oh, is that it? You guys need help here to get in the playoffs? Or?
Oh no, I just want you to.
No, he wants to see us sabotage the tank. That's what
okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. I think Chris Drury.
To be honest, it wouldn't matter because they don't develop it.
According to Carson, it won't make a difference where they finish.
It won't make a difference. It really wouldn't.
All right.
But either way, thanks for coming on.
I will watch.
I'll see you around. I think I'll see you around.
A fan. Yes, I will hear you. I'm sure.
I'll see you around at one point. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Pantry seeing goodbye. Plenty of people. All right, so there you go, everyone. My dad, one of the biggest A's fans you'll ever see for a long time. But either way, we still are going to continue on with the show. I don't really have anything to plug for my dad because he's not really, But either way, follow his second channel, his new podcast. But we're obviously coming off of a series. They get swept. The Mets are not in a situation where, let's say, they can be, pointing out individual performances as hard because they're small sample sizes. However, we're seeing a little bit beyond with a guy like Francisco Lindor as of right now, which is concerning in a way that not many of us are used to talking about, because right now he is struggling offensively, which he always does. I am fully good as of right now, knowing, especially with the underlying numbers that I constantly look at biblically as well, because I'm just like that. Average quality of contact, not chasing. Like he looks, process is fine at the plate. He's going to be fine. However, he's been making a lot of these mental mistakes that you usually do not see from Francisco Lindor. And the main reason as to why it is a concern is because every time when you hear about Francisco Lindor, or a scout talks about Francisco Lindor, or somebody breaks down Francisco Lindor as a player, you always see a very conventional player, someone who's very routine with what he does. And he's a very well-balanced player that is also a very, smart player in comparison to, somebody maybe like Trey Turner, who goes a little bit more flashy and more smooth. Lindor goes a little bit more of that conventional fundamental way. But when you see him mess up fundamentally like this, and this has been multiple times already earlier on in this season, you had the pickoff when he was adjusting his hand gear. He got picked off. He wasn't paying attention. He cost some bullets or possibly another inning for Peralta as well in St. Louis. He had, he got picked off at third in this series as well, which was very, very costly, which the manager somehow defended because, they thought there was going to be a double play in order. Whatever, that's a whole different story. You also had a double play ball where Lindor was like running away from it as well. And I was talking about this a lot on Twitter, and it's starting to get a little bit of notion right now that a lot of people are kind of talking about it a little bit. This kind of roots back to, for me, and I've been thinking about it since the St. Louis series, when those first mental mistakes were happening. This kind of roots back to, in my opinion, it was the final game, I believe, the final game of the Pittsburgh series. Yeah. Juan Soto in the, bottom of the ninth, whatever. But Juan Soto, 10th or whatever. Juan Soto hits a gapper. Francisco Alvarez comes around to score. And then Tim Leeper, the Mets third base coach, waves him around. Francisco Lindor gets tagged out at the plate. The Mets obviously fall short in that game. But on that tag, he kind of took an uppercut and then his head kind of slammed on the ground. He got up a little slowly, but he got up pretty quickly. But the main thing, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to point this out as the doctor that I am. When you're not seeing these types of mental mistakes from a guy like Francisco Lindor on a daily basis, because he's Francisco Lindor, you don't see these types of things from him, not consistently. Maybe he'll mess up, everybody messes up, but we're seeing almost every game. Even in the game yesterday, he was doing a nice little Tebow Perez jog to second base while Shea Langeliers threw him out. He was a dead duck. I saw it with my own two eyes. I was like, live. I was like, what the hell just happened? I'm like, what is going on with him? Now, he is, relatively taking competitive ABs, but here's the thing. Is it a possibility that something happened that we do not know about with Francisco Lindor as to why he's either losing focus because of this certain thing? I'm not subscribing to the fact that it's a family matter, or he's toxic in the club. I'm not opening up that conversation. If you believe that, you can believe that. That's fine. Go ahead and be an idiot when he starts hitting in June. But when it comes to this whole situation, to me, it finds personally a detriment to the Mets leadership if something were to be going on. I'm not saying there is something going on, because again, I'm not a doctor. But is it possible? Is it possible? And I'm not sitting here to make excuses because he's been playing like shit. They all have been playing like shit, and we're here to hold him accountable. Is it possible that maybe he is playing concussed? I don't know if he is. But the main reason as to why I say this, it's not because of Francisco Lindor. I want to make excuses for him. I'm a Lindor super fan. It's that we've already seen something like this. Not just Anthony Rizzo, but with the Mets as well. Remember when Brandon Nimmo, at the beginning of, May, fainted in his hotel room? And he was out of the lineup?
Yeah.
And then weeks later, around that London series, they were like, hey, we're going to test him for a concussion in relation to him fainting. And the main reason as to why this shows concern for me, and again, this is all more putting pieces together, investigating. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying this is what is going on. But it does rise some concern when you've seen trends like this with Brandon Nimmo, where that happened, where they were waiting too long to realize that he had a concussion. And the main reason as to why it's concerning to me is because in 2024, when that did happen, who was managing the team? Carlos Mendoza. And I know that there's a lot of things going on right now with Carlos Mendoza, and they're warranted because he deserves a lot of criticism as of right now, considering how much this team has fallen apart under him. And maybe, I don't know, Tommy Pham will be the saving grace. Who knows? To be that veteran that wakes everybody up. I don't know. I'm not completely counting on it because he's a 38-year-old veteran right now that could just be an extra bat off the bench. But it is concerning when you see somebody like Francisco Lindor that doesn't usually make those stupid mistakes consistently, night in and night out. Plus, you add on the slump at the beginning of the year. You add on the media basically saying, just the media and fans saying constant heinous things about how he ruined the locker room over and over and over again. He's under a lot of heat. We know that he is. He will always be under a lot of heat with the salary that he makes. But as these continuous problems continue to show up of these constant mental errors, I don't think it's very far-fetched to root it back to that play against Pittsburgh where he was uppercut in the jaw on the tag home and his head slammed into the dirt. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I'm not saying it's true, but I don't think it's that far-fetched because we don't usually see these types of mental errors from Francisco Lindor consistently like we have been seeing throughout these first 16 games. So Andrew, I don't know what your thoughts are on this as of right now. I mean, your mic's going in and out, but
that's just me playing around, man. I didn't realize.
Oh, that's just you playing around. Okay. So you're just trolling me. Great. Yes. Is Francisco Lindor trolling? Or could this be more of a serious issue? Because we've seen it before, not only just with the Mets, but under this same leadership of Carlos Mendoza, not taking the initiative to say, hey, what is going on here? Is there something else that you're feeling, or is there something that's not going on here that we should know about? It is concerning when you put the puzzle pieces together. I'm not saying it happened, but it's not very far-fetched in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not pretty, and I get in every other sport that has actual physical contact, they have the concussion spotter on site at every game. Obviously, in the NFL, there's a certain blue tent that they go into that, Jackson Dart has, resonance in. Besides the point, this is concerning. The fact that you see it, your second best player, but first overall player, but you're faced your friends that's been here, half a decade, and you see getting punched in the head, and then the whiplash, and the fact that let's say there hasn't been a check, it's pathetic. Like, I get in every other sport, it's physical contact, that makes, more sense to have a concussion guy. It doesn't take, an idiot to realize, hey, he hit hard. And we know what concussions are around the sports, and the other sports at least. Like, maybe, the fact that, and he has this isn't the bad thing, but he's ignorant to the extent that he wants to play every single day. God forbid the dude takes a day off. Besides the point, when, you're not hurting the team, but, you could take a day off. And, pulling him out of the lineup is like pulling teeth. But if you're not looking at that play and you don't see, we know the offensive thing. We know he sucks in April. That's why, when last week when you were like, oh, you're going to the two obvious duds, I'm not even putting him in the dud category because we know he sucks in April. So I'm not, putting him in dud because we know he sucks. So I'm not even going to waste the breath, taking a shot at Carson Benton. He got a couple hits, cool. But besides the point, it's what you said. We know he sucks in April offensively. It's the stupid shit he's doing, which is the concerning thing. Because, the not knowing how many outs are when you have every scoreboard in the world, which that should be that's unjustifiable. You're playing in a Major League Stadium. You can turn around. They have billions of scoreboards that tell you how many outs there were. That's unexcusable. The play in this series, he's going back, and I was listening, some MLB radio, and they were saying like, oh, because the Simeon being, could this be Lindor's thinking too much in the sense that obviously he played with the gerbil for so long. He knows what the gerbil does. He's still learning because obviously he lost all of spring training. What can Simeon do or not?
Yeah.
But there's a difference between that can be true and...
The thing is, it should come natural, though. That's the thing, because Simeon is so again, he's just like Lindor, very routine defensively.
But that's not where I'm going. Where are you going? Go to the back. Why are you backing him up? Like, you're just like in no man's land. Like,
that's what I mean.
And then even in this series, he flat foots a double play ball that ends up putting an extra run on the board. Because, yes, he doesn't have the greatest arm for a shortstop, but the fact you got no power on it, on a throw, you're just like flat foot lobbing over to first base, and then, getting picked off when not putting your equipment on. Like, these are stupid mistakes that I can justify him being sucking offensively in April because that's what he is. And if you're still complaining about it, you're an idiot. But what I will not take over, and that's why, again, maybe he is playing, and I can't believe a concussion can make you this stupid, which I'm not, again, we're not clarifying that it is. But if he is not 100%, and you're seeing that, it's a horrible look on Mendoza and the rest of this and the organization. That the fact that if he hasn't gotten checked, and again, this hard New York media, have they asked him one question about it?
No.
They're asking him the same cupcake questions as just like the Toronto media. Oh, the New York media is so scary. But God forbid, you want to actually ask questions. Hey, has he been tested? Because he is not playing like a good fundamental baseball player that he is, and a smart man that he is. He's making a lot of dumb decisions. So
it's concerning. Yeah.
It's concerning, but it's also like, again, if Stern, not Miss Stearns, but again, it's his organization. But the fact, obviously, it's not great. That the fact that if he is, this is another Anthony Rizzo situation where you go 3 months and then like, oh yeah, on a random Tuesday, Lindor's had a concussion. He's been playing through a concussion. He's had to go on the IL. And these aren't, and again, as the logo on the top of my head, concussions you don't with. And the fact that it can take your superstar away for a long time. And you can play that he's playing with more pressure because obviously Soto not being here. But again, if I'm playing with a concussed Lindor, as much as I don't love, playing Ronnie Mauricio, but hell, at least if he's up here, you can play him every day. Give Lindor 2 weeks to 3 weeks off his feet and get him right. You sacrifice that. But we burned the option for dumb shit. Besides the point, it is concerning. And, he can say it all. I'm fine. Every athlete's going to do that. Oh, I'm fine. I'm going to play. Jackson Dart has 5 concussions. I'm good. Put me back in. I'm going to head first. Like, you have to. The player's not going to come out of the game. You have to
protocol.
Exactly. But also the protocol. You have to protect your own player because players are going to just play. Like they're not, especially a guy like Lindor who wants to play every goddamn game. You need to the adult, which you don't have an adult as a manager, which again we continue to look at.
Yeah.
You have a lapdog. If you had an adult in the room, sit him down and say, yes, we go back to 2 weeks matter, but I'd rather you be good for 140 and miss 20 than deal with 162 when maybe 60 of these games you're a below average player, but also you're concussed and you're not the best version of you. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's some dingus material right there.
Yeah, exactly. A dingus managing right now, and we can shift that to Carlos Mendoza before we, wrap everything up and go into this, Dodgers series. It's very, very obvious to me. Very, very obvious. As someone who is not very in tune or subscribes a lot to a situation where the manager means everything these days. Because we all know that the analytics department, team officials make a lot of the decisions for the team, and a lot of that doesn't go with the manager, and they're more of just kind of a yes man to the front office. But he's been here long enough to where he can have somewhat of input, because overall, if you were to look at, his record as a Mets manager, if you want to do that, he does have a winning record as a Mets manager, right? They had 2 winning seasons under him. So, again, I'm sure that he had plenty of input. He's also a Stearns hire. So, again, I'm sure that he brings in some of that input. However, the players that are, below him, who he's supposed to manage, I think it's become very, very evident that Carlos Mendoza has lost this locker room, or is losing the grip of this locker room. Because it is a lot to say that maybe there are some mistakes made by a first-year manager. This is now year 3. And the fact that it also plays into this whole Lindor situation. We're seeing him not hold him accountable in the post game. He is not benched whatsoever, whether he is healthy or not. The fact that he is, we didn't see him take the initiative to say, well, is there something going on? Let's run a test. Let's just run some tests, please. But no, it's just, well, he's a star. I'll listen to the star. Whatever he says goes. Be a fucking manager, please. Be one. And that's not what we are seeing. And also, with this team losing as well, the message being sent, it is stale. It's the same reiterations of this that Matt is saying here in the chat. We have talent in that clubhouse. We'll get through it. We have talent in this clubhouse. We have to play better. We saw the base running mistake in this series. Him defending Francisco Lindor. Basically shutting down a reporter. Basically shutting down the reporter saying, hey, no, that was the right decision. It just, it just backfired a little bit because it could have been a double play. Well, I don't care if it was the right decision or not. After you're seeing so many different mental mistakes, not just on the bases, defensively, I mean, is he going to forget? Is he going to get a pitch clock violation? A batter violation next? Like, what is next? Until they realize maybe something is going on here. And we're also getting reports about that series in San Francisco. Oh, well, Kai Correa made the call to pinch hit Torrens and that comeback to come from behind. Like, it is telling. You can see by some of these clues as well, because, again, I talked about all of these clues that were there. You just had to make the research about our hitting coach last year. I talked about that all the time. In terms of Carlos Mendoza, he is losing the grip on that locker room, and it is showing. It is showing because it is a lowest common. What is the common denominator here? You have a brand new team, brand new coaching staff, and you're still seeing the same problems. On the pitching side, you're seeing guys pitch with conviction. On the pitching side, we're seeing guys throw more strikes. On the pitching side, it's been a lot better. They've been attacking hitters. On the position player side, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And this is as someone who was like, okay, I think this was the best situation to bring in somebody like Carlos Mendoza. Well, Mendoza is the last year of your contract. And we are continuing to see the same mistakes that you were making as a first-year manager. And we all know that, let's say they go into this Dodgers series and the Cubs. Let's say they lose, but they go 1-5 just like they did on this homestand. The seat's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. But I know, and I said this on Twitter, I know that they're going to wait for Soto to come back. They're going to wait for him to come back, obviously, because they're not at full strength. But we all saw the reports that if they get off to a slow start, I think this was from Mike Puma, and it also was confirmed by Joel Sherman, that the Mets could move on. I mean, and this is the thing, I actually really like Carlos Mendoza. I do. But when you continue to put out the same word vomit, and you're seeing constantly these players not being held accountable for shit. No one's getting benched for these mental errors, and these mental errors constantly being happening under you. When did they stop happening? When Jose Iglesias took over in that clubhouse? Was a big voice? Was it JDM? Is it going to be Fam this time to mask what's going on with Carlos Mendoza as a leader? They're waiting for Soto to come back, which it looks like he does come back maybe in the next week. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully. But right now you're treading water until then. So what's going to happen until then? Are we going to continue to see these same mistakes over and over and over again? And we're going to just continue to lose constantly? Because we all know what the common denominator is. We all know this is the last year of his contract. It was a 3-year deal. This is his 3rd year. Mendoza, the clock is ticking. And I do think it's going to be an organizational guy if they end up replacing him. And maybe we'll have that conversation eventually if this continues to get even worse. If this gets to a point where he's still here and we are at that point where, a point of the season where it's like the Jorge Lopez throw his glove in the crowd type of thing, before the turnaround, that's when we'll start to talk about it a little bit more deeper. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was before then if they continue to struggle. I really wouldn't. And when you saw an overall message of that team meeting in 2024, they talked about holding each other accountable. Go out there, have fun. If we're going to suck, let's suck together. Pause. I love JD Martinez for that quote, by the way. Cool. That's one of the best quotes I've heard, by the way. JD Martinez. Good dude. And he's back in the organization, so awesome. But, the seat continues to get warmer and warmer if you continue to do the same thing over and over again. Because we always talk about the definition of insanity. Mm-hmm. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Tony's saying right here, saying devil's advocate, when they turn it around and it's Mendy at the helm and they make a run into the playoffs and win the division, do you extend him? I have absolutely no idea. I have no idea, but I feel like at the rate that it's going under his leadership, this is just like this is just like a fantasy at this point where it's like, okay, this happens or this happens or this happens. They make the playoffs, they make a run under Mendy's helm, and everybody, everything goes perfect, sort of like it did in 2024. But right now, you need a new voice in that locker room. You do. And like I said, I really do like Mendoza, but you can't carry this type of messenger that keeps spewing the same thing or different variations of it. We have a lot of talent in the locker room. We have to be better. We will stick together. Kumbaya. That one he didn't actually say. I added that one. Kumbaya. But like Andrew, from the Lindor stuff, obviously, the accountability, not benching guys. Another one I'll point out. Remember Jose Siri when he screwed up in center field? Yeah. Wasn't benched after that. Nope. No accountability. None of it. To be honest, more of the accountability, I think, has come from Stearns DFAing guys who have played like shit. No. Maybe he'll take a little bit more of the initiative, like he said, be more proactive this year. We'll see. And we all know everybody wants Stearns' head on a plate, which we're not even going to get into right now or today. Andrew, Carlos Mendoza is right now at this current moment. To be honest, I think that if they have a shitty road trip, which the way they're playing, it could be possible. Yeah. if they're having a shitty road trip, I mean, he's going to be on borrowed time at this point.
Yeah, and like I get it. Most people don't want to hear it. Like, the obvious in-house guy is going to be Kai Correa, that's why for me, as great of a hire, and again, we'll see the defense has been up and down, but we know how high the industry loved the hire of Kai Correa. Why I was very perplexed in the sense that you should have had this, and again, I can always correlate to other sports. The Penguins went in 2014 and had a lame duck sitting head coach. Mm-hmm. You know who was sitting in AAA? Mike Sullivan.
Yeah.
So when they had the inevitability, when they needed to fire the head coach, they had their guy that they wanted in the system. Mm-hmm. My thing with Kai Correa is, yes, he can be this great defensive wizard, and he can be a great overall coach. And hell, if things are be true, he's made the best decision of the series, bringing Terens in to pinch hit. The season, he made the best managerial decision. But my thing is, okay, you fire Mendy, and you're giving this guy who was, again, and I get, we could talk about the analytics and who's really the manager, yes, but he just got here, and I can understand. Everyone just got here. That's a different dangle joke, but in the sense of, okay, this is the guy that is the emergency of Mendy sucks. Guess what? This is the guy who's probably going to be the manager.
Who has shown his difference from him so far? Like we said, he already made that call about. Like he showed his difference, which again is good. And to be honest, I think that maybe one day, since the industry sees him, and to be honest, I've really liked what he's done with our infielders so far. Yeah. That maybe he could be a manager one day. I also have heard some rumbling about possibly maybe Andy Green steps in because he is in he's
the head
because he stayed with the organization.
Yeah, he's the player development
somewhere else.
He's the player development,
and he also was a candidate with Mendoza and with Mark Kotze and with Craig Counsell, who I didn't even think was coming here, but. The whole thing of, we need to bring Beltran's in the organization, make him manage or whatever. Like, I don't know what type of leader he is either. Like, I don't know. And again, this is different conversations. We'll have them eventually. To be honest, who knows? Yeah. But like today on that certain radio show, we had a suggestion about this. And we all knew it was coming. Yeah, it's the most unnamed radio. It's the most unnamed radio station. It's the most answer ever of their kind, obviously. Which again, stupid. But it's just one of those things that, for now, I'm giving them time. But we're watching the common denominators here, and we know that Carlos Mendoza is one of them.
Like, could I go full hypothesis, psycho, big boy, conspiracy theory? Yeah. Like, yes, the Kai Correa thing, and I guess we'll talk about it before I get into it. Like, you look at Correa, like, who do you think, especially when this room is, let's call it fractured, or the respect level for Mendy is down. And this might sound, stupid, jock. I don't believe that Kai Correa, who looks like, he should be managing or teaching, school science in a school, or, Carlos Beltran, who has won in this league. I do think that would mean something, but it is kind of funny that, like, JDM just gets mysteriously the same job as Beltran. Again, I'm not calling for it as much as we all know what, my one side of my brain is talking about. Besides the point, I do think there is, like, if Correa gets it, sure. And this was, again, another Stearns hire, which, again, he cleared out everybody. This was Stearns' guy. And again, we were talking about it because Mendoza's not helped himself. But, like, again, if we get to that point, which it could be possible, you get swept by the Dodgers and Cubs, and the Dodgers aren't, and we'll get into the recap, or at least the preview. Like, the Dodgers don't hit left-handed pitching, and we got Peterson tonight, which we'll get to later. But, like, you're looking at this, and, like, you could be going into a steamroll. Even with McClain pitching against Ohtani in Game 2. Yes, Daddy, please, that's lit. Besides the point, there's a world where you get absolutely steamrolled, and then you go to Chicago, where the Mets have not had great success at Wrigley. But, again, it's cold. So we see how Mets have done in cold weather. So there's a world where you go 1-6 or 1-5. Yeah, it's 3-3, right? Yeah. There's not we're not playing 4. So 1-5, and he also, it depends how Stearns will do, because and I say this, I think next homestand might be more important, because you can have the excuse of, okay, you're playing two good teams. The next homestand is the most cupcake 9-game homestand.
Don't say that. Because we all know it's not for us.
It's not. But at any competent team, it is the Nationals.
I hate when I hear that every freaking year with the Mets are in the driver's seat of the Ford, but the Mets are in the driver's seat. Well, they have a cupcake schedule here. Oh, it's the easiest part of the schedule. And then they bend over. Like, that's basically, I'm done with that stupid fucking narrative. Have some respect for your goddamn opponent.
Here you go.
Done with it.
Yeah, so you come home after this hell of, World Series champion Cubs.
Yeah.
Twins,
no, I know.
Rockies,
I know what you're talking
Nationals.
about.
If that
I know what
continues,
you're talking about.
That's when
but I don't trust them.
I don't, again, I'm not saying,
I don't trust that name on the jersey that they'll get the goddamn job done.
I'm not saying. I'm saying that the road trip won't be the reason he gets fired. It'd be the next homestand. Is if you don't
possibly.
do
well, you also have Juan Soto getting back into this group too. Like that's gonna be the excuse so far for him is Juan Soto's not in the lineup.
Yeah. So again, like for me, everyone's saying this is the
what I can say right now from all these messages he's sending right now, and I don't know what he's saying behind closed doors, but it's kind of showing here on the field. We have a lot of talent in this room. We'll have to be better. We love each other. Blah, blah, blah. Uninspiring message. Uninspiring play. What are we seeing right now? Leadership is important. And maybe Tommy Pham is the savior of that clubhouse. And they start going off. Because he's in the lineup tonight against a lefty. Maybe that's it. But, there's only so much time we can just start throwing shit against the wall and see if it sticks. Something has to give. And if that means a new voice in that clubhouse, I'm all for it. I 100% agree. I 100% agree that his seat should be hot.
Yeah.
And to be honest, after, this road trip, if they come out flat once again or unprepared, which also reflects on the manager too, I would not be opposed to lighting that seat on fire. I don't know. We'll see what happens. However, going forward, the rapid fire stories here. Let's pop them up real quick. Whoops. There we go. Juan Soto progressing as expected in his rehab process. He continues to work indoors to avoid any deconditioning, obviously with it being cold out. Officials are optimistic that his absence will not be long-term. We actually just got a report from Carlos Mendoza just like an hour ago that he said that he is going to start running in the next couple of days. He was placed on the 10-day IL last week with a right calf strain, as we all know. Speaking of other injuries, Clay Holmes. He exited Friday night's game versus the Athletics during the 6th inning due to left hamstring tightness. He is expected to make his next start, which is on Wednesday versus the Dodgers, so hopefully there's no concern there. Mets cannot afford any losses to their rotation, obviously, and they said that maybe it was just cold. So again, cold. Anyways, speaking of cold, the fan favorite known as Richard Lovelady has been designated for assignment as the corresponding move that called up Craig Kimbrell, the future Hall of Famer. He pitched in 6 games out of the Mets bullpen this season so far, possibly has the most appearances out of any of them. And this is the 5th time in the past 2 seasons that he has been DFA'd by the Mets. So, to be honest, he likely will be back. Joey Gerber was called up from AAA Syracuse yesterday or 2 days ago. In the corresponding move, Luis Garcia was designated for assignment. Gerber is 28 years old. He's a former 8th rounder by the Mariners back in 2018. He was picked up, I think it was on waiver or for cash, something like that. Garcia, he signed a 1-year, $1.75 million deal that will be retained by the Mets and will be paid unless somebody picks up his salary on the waiver wire. Tommy Pham, like we already hinted, he will join the Mets in L.A., and he will be activated. He is in the lineup tonight, I believe, batting 7th. He signed a minor league contract with the Mets 2 weeks ago on the day of opening day. He spent the 2023 season with the Mets before he was traded to Arizona at the trade deadline for infield prospect Jeremy Rodriguez. The corresponding move for him, as we all expected, Ronnie Mauricio goes down to AAA. Left-handed pitcher A.J. Minter made his 2nd rehab appearance for Port St. Lucie. yesterday afternoon, and it went just as well as the first one. An inning pitched, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout on 7 pitches. There is no current timetable for his return. It is expected to likely use the entire 30-day rehab frame, but that hasn't been completely confirmed. He has been sidelined since late April 2025 due to undergoing torn left lat surgery. And then there's also a promotion. Dakota Hawkins has been promoted to Double-A Binghamton. He signed with the Mets as an undrafted free agent back in 2023. Teams were fawning over this guy. And you know what? To be honest, for good reason, because last year posted a 2.44 earned run average in 44 innings out of the bullpen for High A Brooklyn. So there you go. Another promotion right there. But either way, Tommy Pham. They interviewed him about him. They interviewed him, actually, because obviously he's in the clubhouse now. He's there. He's playing tonight. They asked him about what he got out of his minor league assignment with the Mets. He said, I am your newest 38-year-old prospect. I fucking love this guy. I really do. I really love this guy because, again, he called out this locker room for being lazy as fuck last time. And even though, our third co-host didn't like it and he was not the biggest fan of Tommy Pham and saying, oh, why are you talking about us? Andrew, I remember you and I were like, yeah, he's right. He's not wrong.
No.
And we all know this guy speaks his mind. So, again, who knows if this is going to work out? I have absolutely no idea what the future holds here. But if you want a veteran in that clubhouse, an adult in that clubhouse who seems to be not the manager, that could be Tommy Pham. It could be. He's getting into the unk status here. He's 38 years old. So that it could be someone vocal. It could be. I know that there's been issues, and he's not very pleasant with some players. Jock Peterson is one. But we'll see. Thunder, that is hilarious. Okay, I'm not pulling up that comment, but that is one of the funniest things I have ever read, ever. I love that. That is exquisite. Either way, Tommy Pham, Andrew, we already talked about him when he signed a few weeks ago. But this, I believe, again, I think is the first in a series of culture-changing moves for the New York Mets.
And potatoes or corn, sure.
Yeah.
Again, if our saving grace is another 38-year-old veteran who, punches you because of fantasy football, I mean, again, like you said, he'll get the room riled up. He's going to speak his mind. He's going to call dudes out, which, again, our manager's not going to do it. But, again, if the fact that we're banking and praying that Tommy Pham is our, again, culture-changing move that gets this team out of our ass, that's a problem. But again, it is what it is. Again, as cool as he is, again, he does, he does mix martial arts in the off season, so he can mess somebody up. He slaps you over fantasy football. That's the type of leader I need in the locker room. So overall, again, he can't be worse than the conglomeration of guys hitting in the DH position, or it is what it is. I'm not going to lose my sleep over it. It could be like he was last year when he played for 4 teams. Like he could be DFA'd, in 2 weeks. Who knows? But
it's a minor league deal.
It's a minor league deal, and it's hopefully you can get a little spark out of him. And hey, maybe again he just beats the hell out of everybody, gets everybody back to their prime form, and then you go win the World Series, and he's a part of the documentary. And then we watch it back over and over again when there's no baseball. So again, I'm not losing sleep. It's entertaining. He's already back in the lineup, and that quote was great, being like, he's a 38-year-old prospect, cool. But again, they should not be. This is, oh my God, our savior is here. It is
no.
Just,
no, I think it's just a good guy to have in that locker room for a team that needs an ass kicking right now.
Yeah, so
that's basically how I look at it. And yes, most people assume that Pham was talking about McNeil with that comment, but if you remember, he had to retract the statement. He said, "Oh, I wasn't talking about Lindor, Peter, Nimmo." Listen, I don't know who the hell he was talking about. I don't really care, but to say in general, this is the least hardest working team that I've ever played on in the position player group, it did speak volumes. It definitely did. And to be honest, again, I'm not in full on full blame. I never was in full blame of the old core or anything. But they needed a change. We'll see. I don't know. But Tommy Pham, I love it. I really do, because he was probably our most consistent bat in 2023. If you guys recall.
Yeah.
And, he was traded because, team was trading. But, who knows? Maybe he plays well for us. We sell at the deadline, and we can get something back for him again. Wouldn't that be great if we were selling at the deadline, guys? No, I'm joking. But, again, the bat speed, 68th percentile last year. He's still got the quick bat. I don't know if it's slowed down a little bit. Maybe it has, because he is still 38 years old.
Yeah.
But, I still, there's still some, there's still juice left in that bat. Definitely. There's definitely juice left in that bat. Let me see if it's, no, it's been at the same level pretty much since they started measuring the bat speed overall and made it public. 74th percentile in 2023, 63rd percentile, and then 68. So, again, he doesn't chase. We all know he spits on pitches. He walks a lot. He can give you competitive ABs from the bottom part of the order, which has looked like even more bottom. They've played like bottom. Nice reference, right? But yeah.
Dominic Leone. Why the fuck is Dominic Leone in a chat?
Yeah, bring back. Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just listen. I'm excited for it. I am. I really am. I think again. I think it's a good ad. I do. I really do. If you want a grown up in that clubhouse, there's a grown up for you. There's a big boy. There's a tough guy who I'm pretty sure has been stabbed multiple times. So he listen. Anyways, let's get into the upcoming series, obviously, with the Los Angeles Dodgers, the defending champs, of course. This is a Dodgers team that is 11-4 to start off the year. They're a great team. They're the best team in all of baseball, and they will be until they are dethroned. They added Kyle Tucker. They added Edwin Diaz. They added the best on the market because they're the Dodgers. They're the new evil empire. They're the new model organization, whatever. The team that you want to be like. And, they have a fan base that leaves by the fourth inning. It's all glamour. And we all know how good that team is. Either way, let's get into the pitching matchups for these games. Game 1, which is tonight, David Peterson will start the opener of this series, looking to shake off back-to-back brutal starts against the Giants and the Diamondbacks. He will face 25-year-old southpaw Justin Wroblewski. Did I say that right? Wroblewski. Wow, that is a great name to say. That is. First pitch is tonight at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2, Nolan McLean, Mets #1 overall prospect, will make his 12th career MLB start in the middle game of this series. He will face one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. First pitch is tomorrow night at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. And Game 3, Clay Holmes is lined up to pitch the series finale as the Mets expect him to make the start after he left Friday's Game 2 to the left hamstring tightness. And he will face the 4-time MVP and two-way superstar, Shohei Ohtani. First pitch is Wednesday night at 10:10 p.m. as well, Eastern Time. This one on ESPN, so that will probably get a lot of watch-along viewers because I don't think anybody wants to listen to that ESPN broadcast. Either way, there's not really much, to be honest, do overall scouting with this team aside from maybe the injuries that they have. Let's just say this Dodgers team is really, really good. They are the best team in all of baseball. Even if they don't have the best record right now, they are the best team in all of baseball until they are dethroned. And this team is so good right now that they have Freddie Freeman batting 5th tonight. That's how good this team is. Just basically just shows you. I mean, again, whatever. This is a stacked lineup. We all know it is. It's a stacked rotation. It's a team of superstars. They play franchise mode on easy mode. We all know how good they are. But the situation right now, they do have a few guys on the shelf. No Mookie Betts, right? Tommy Edman is not here to, release himself into our nightmares again. I think Kike Hernandez is hurt as well. Yeah. They have Blake Snell on the shelf for quite a bit. What was it? That kid Gavin Stone is hurt too. They have plenty of bullpen arms hurt as well. And they also, it looks like that there was someone who was called up, and this is from a Dodgers reporter, that Kyle Hurt was called up by the Dodgers.
It's something, yeah. It's not
that's not. Oh, that was what you were talking about?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So never mind. But we all know in that bullpen, our old homer, our old closer, Edwin Diaz, is there. Yeah. So David Peterson tonight against another lefty who I'm not even going to try to say his name ever again. Ibby saying Ohtani first pitch on a homer so I can get a good night's sleep. No, it is going to be a tight game that is going to make you stay up until 1, and then they are going to break your heart in the 9th inning. So have fun with that. Ibby earlier on saying Frank no-shows for Fam's debut. What a coward. Frank is actually, for those, I saw some people asking about him in the chat earlier. Frank likely will be back for the next episode. His schedule has just been very, very crazy. We did not kick him out at all. We didn't have a falling out. It's not going to be on TMZ or anything. He will be back. Pantry saying, have you guys seen the lineup yet? I have seen the lineup. Vientos in the 3-hole, even though he was awful for the past week. That was somebody I didn't even mention, but you, I think, were talking about him leaving a colony on base. Hopefully he finds it this series. Yikes. I mean, it looks like he's been doing good out west, right? Again, I'm being wishful, to be honest. I'm not banking on it, but I'm being wishful. And maybe they just need hot air to hit, or they just need Juan Soto. That would have been nice. Pray for Peterson tonight, says Jay-Z here in the chat. And then Vientos couldn't wait to get out of New York. I heard he was 0 for 16 in that series. Yeah, not a great series for Vientos. But Andrew, some other comments about this Dodgers team. They're great. They're a great team. We know they are. But if there's any other things that you want to add in here, I mean, this is not the opponent you want to face after 5 straight losses.
Yes, and let's narrative ball the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Matt, you asked for it and you got it. Let's start tonight, and everyone is losing our minds David Peterson versus the Dodgers. It's going to be a 9-run game. And, again, very, very likely. But let's look at the track record so far in the quick 16 games or 17 games of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have faced 3 crafty lefties, and guys like Eduardo Rodriguez and 2 other guys, and they have scored 1 earned run. So, want to look positive. And David Peterson historically has had some decent starts.
He's also had some bad ones too. He's been half and
but
half.
Again, it's
some of the best of his career, I think, have been against the Dodgers. Actually.
Again, I was there last year. At last year's.
It'd be great to right the ship right here. I mean, go ahead.
So again, and when you have McClain going up against Yamamoto in Game 2, and obviously Clay Holmes, we'll see what happens against Shohei. If he does pitch, and of course on ESPN. So again, please watch our watch-alongs. You don't want to listen to the ESPN broadcast. We'll be right here calling the games at 10 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah, especially with Ohtani on the mound.
And Ohtani on the mound, so you don't want to hear.
He's amazing.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to ESPN and an Ohtani start. So you just come over here later.
Yeah.
We'll hang out. We'll have fun with it. But again, everyone's talking about the Dodgers, and again they have all the superstars, and their best player right now is the guy who was their worst in the postseason. That is Andy Paez. He has been absolutely tearing the cover off the ball right now.
Oh, yeah.
So. As great as, obviously Ohtani has 5 homers, and Max Muncy, I think, just had a 3-homer game. The guy right now you have to worry about in that lineup, and he said with Freddie Freeman hitting 5th, The guy right now you got to worry about is Pius because he has been absolutely on a tear to start the season. And again, he's hitting what I think 6th in the lineup. So again, you have to go through Ohtani, and they don't have Mookie, and then of course Andy Pius has his year 3 breakout to potentially being another superstar that they have for free, playing elite defense in center fields. And again, let's just have that, help the Dodgers out, of course, having young development, and then more on the way. Oh yeah, great. Let's talk about that former closer of ours, and he's had a hiccup, and he was potentially injured. Yeah. Dave Roberts does say he's good to go. But obviously, we saw Kyle Hart get called up, and everyone's like, instantly, here's a Diaz.
There was a report that they have concerns about his velocity dipping.
The velocity has been down.
That's not my problem anymore.
And he does that. We've seen him, early on the season, his velocity goes down. I think he was sitting like 94. He gave up a homer did he give up a homer to Nimmo? I think he was in the Rangers. He gave up a homer to Nimmo in the ninth inning, which was, of course, the most Met on Met crime. Or I think it was Evan Carter. Maybe it was Evan Carter, and it was one of their outfielders that threw a homer. Yeah. But again, we'll see. If Diaz gets into a game in this series, the Dodgers probably most likely have the lead. But who knows? Maybe in a non-safe situation, you see Edwin Diaz, and again, maybe you hit him. It'd be nice. But again, when you're going against that Dodgers lineup, Kyle Tucker has not been great for them to start. He has a bunch of most of his stuff was the first week of his first series of the year. Yeah. But ever since that, he's been pretty cold. Obviously, Freddie. Again, it's you name an all-star. They got him playing. They have Alex Freeland and Miguel Rojas playing second base, and we all know Miguel Rojas, notorious Mets killer.
Miguel Rojas has an insane career against
the
David
Mets,
Peterson, by the way.
Great,
against David Peterson. So does Max Muncy, and so does Teoscar Hernandez. So,
exactly. Just name the all-star.
Yeah.
Him dog, attaboy. But yeah, again, you got to glaze them because again, when you have 9 guys in that lineup who are all stars or league average bats, and more coming, and they're going to sign more guys. So it's great. You get Yamamoto and Ohtani, which not great. But again, you have to take advantage of Robleski. The Mets, I think, as a team, I was seeing some stats against left-handed pitching. The Mets are hitting have a 116 WRC plus versus lefties, so maybe that keeps it going. Tommy, and you have the Tommy fan boost, so maybe. Getting on the West Coast, getting away from the cold city field and playing in L.A., maybe the offense can look back more like what they did in San Francisco. But again, it's a wait-and-see approach. I'm not, holding my breath. Would I love them to win a series? Yeah. Is it possible? Yeah, the Dodger bullpen isn't great still. I mean, Diaz has been good, but Tanner Scott is still shaky. They have, some of their middle-end guys, which are, you can get to, but guys like Alex Vesia and some other guys. So, again, it's wait and see. Hopefully, you win game 1 and the winning streak, and then you get McLean. So, you get your ace pitching game 2 against that race. So, it'll be fun. The Mets always play good against the Dodgers. But, again, it's the ice-cold rock facing a Goliath that is red hot. So, we'll see what we get.
It's just, we'll see. We will see. But either way, for those of you who want to see what happens, and we are going to be reacting to it live. Most of us are probably going to be on the stream in and out throughout this series because they're all 10 o'clock games. A reminder to tune in tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday night for watch-along and post-game coverage of the Mets versus Dodgers series, hosted by the newest members of Mets Weekly, Evan and Matt. 10 minutes before first pitch, 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, which is in about an hour, barring any delay needed for live play-by-play commentary, banter, out-of-pocket jokes, and maybe some special guests along the way. It all starts tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 minutes before first pitch, like I just said. Hope to see you guys there. Some other stuff that we have here. So BBA saying, I'll think about it. We all know you're tuning in, man. We all know. You're a loyal guy in there. We'll see what happens. However, some comments about, this guy and this guy.
We've gone 2 hours. We've
gone 2 hours already. I'm not doing it. All I'm going to say is I warned you. I don't know what to tell you. This is what he is.
How about the guys that make money hit? And
Exactly. We need BBA to say the classic late. It's not a stream until he says late at AF. Come on, BBA, man. You gotta commit to the craft. All right.
So, all right.
But anything else that we have? I don't think there is anything.
Just come hang out with us. We'll be up in an hour.
Come hang out with us night. In an hour. I'll probably hop on around the third inning-ish, around there.
So we'll see.
It likely will be It likely will be all four of us, I'm pretty sure, throughout the watch along. Maybe three of us. We'll see. We're all hanging out. It's going to be late night. And maybe the Mets will get slaughtered. Who knows? And you'll get some out-of-pocket jokes. But we're here all for the ride. Because even though this sector of baseball right now for the Mets is painful to watch, we're hoping to make it a little bit brighter to where you guys can vent in the chat. However, we will see. But either way, we're going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Thank you to my dad for coming in and talking his side in this A's series as well. I would plug some stuff for him, but I don't think he has much social media for that. So, maybe I'll encourage him at one point. But either way, for those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications. Make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel to not miss when we go live, which will be in about 50 minutes, as Matt is saying here in the chat. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. And finally, let's go Mets, and we will see you guys in about an hour for Mets Dodgers.